Okay. And we're here today at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in West Palm Beach. And the person that I'm interviewing is Jerry Timmons. Okay, today's date is November the 15th, 2012. And Jerry, what is your date of birth?
October 26, 1951.
Okay, and what is your current address?
1011 Windsor Avenue, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Right, okay.
33401.
And my name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director of the Children's Coalition Incorporated. And you and I are the only people here present at the interview here at the hospital in the solarium. Okay, what wars or what branch of the service were you in, Jerry?
I was with the U.S. Army.
Okay, all right.
United States Army. For 6 years, regular Army.
Okay.
I did, prior to the Army, I was with the Army National Guards.
Okay. So you were in the National Guard before you went active duty?
Yes.
And where were you? What were you doing before you went into service? Where were you?
I was right here in West Palm Beach, and my profession at the time was a truck driver.
Okay. What year was that?
That was in 1969 through 75.
Okay.
As a truck driver, prior to going into the Army National Guards.
Okay.
I was stationed with the 1st of the 55th Air Defense Artillery.
Okay. Were you drafted or enlisted?
My brother enlisted me. Believe it or not.
Right.
Yeah, he signed us up for the Army National Guards with a delayed entry program. And we was put on orders as of August 74.
Right. Okay. So why did he pick the Army? Why not another branch?
Well, he was working over in Palm Beach at the time with a Fina gas station, a BP gas station.
Right.
And there was an Army recruiter kept coming over there in his military official sedan vehicle and filling up every so often.
Right.
And he would ask him questions about joining the Army. And over a 3-week period, he brought him back some paraphernalia, pamphlets and booklets on the Army, the regular Army, and then the Army National Guard.
Right.
He told him if he didn't want to go active at the time, he could take a piece of the cake and just go to the Army National Guards out of reserve. So my brother signed us up for the Army National Guards. About 3 or 4 weeks later, after asking me in between a month or 2-month period, did I want to go into the service, and I told him I didn't have an interest at the time. But he told me 2 months later, I signed me up, and I signed you up too.
Right.
And I didn't take him seriously until we got a Secretary of Defense letter certified.
Right.
From the Secretary of the Army and the Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
To report to active duty.
Okay, so, all right, so your brother, you say the both of you enlisted?
Yes, he signed me up, and we both got certified letters from the Department of Defense to go take a physical.
Okay.
In Miami, and the letters came to my address.
And where were you living at the time?
We were staying over off of 4th Street. I think the address was 733 4th Street in West Palm Beach.
Okay. Okay, so where did you have to go for your physicals?
We was told to report to Miami. However, they wrote us another letter saying call off Miami to report to the Palm Beach Auditorium at the time.
Oh, okay.
Some doctors was coming from Miami to the Palm Beach Auditorium, and they met about 300 of us over there.
Wow. Okay.
At the Palm Beach Auditorium that particular night. And we got checked from head to toe,
Right.
and less than a month later, we was coming down on orders to report to Fort Jackson, South Carolina,
Right.
for basic training and AIT, advanced individual training,
And where was that?
in Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And how old were you at the time?
I was 25, 26 at the time.
Okay, so you went to Fort Jackson,
Yes.
and what did you do there?
We reported to Fort Jackson. I wanted to be in the medical field. Had I chose this this tour of duty, I wanted to be a medic. However, my brother, we used to like to work on racing cars, and he chose automotive mechanics for us. So our basic training consisted of working on vehicles as small as a generator and wheel vehicles, from a Jeep to a military sedan, all the way up into the biggest piece of equipment they had on wheels.
Right.
And we studied the books there at that training school and worked on these vehicles and replaced parts and did troubleshooting at the same time. And at the same time, we was one of the first class of school that went through training co-ed with females. That was something new that they tried out for the very first time in '75.
Right.
And it all went just like clockwork.
So, how long were you? What was this? Was this basic training?
This was basic training and advanced training. We had 4 weeks, 6 weeks of basic training,
Okay.
and about 8 weeks of advanced individual training. Basic training, they taught us how to properly salute, fold flags, do funeral details. The main thing they taught us in basic was the medical, on how to treat wounds and frostbite, and how to treat an injured soldier if your partner got injured or shot in any kind of way,
Okay.
and how to protect the wounds and keep the bacteria out and treat them for going into shock. And then we also had duties of guard duty, 2 hours on and 4 hours off around the clock.
Right.
That was 1 hour. Detail assigned duties was guard duty, whether you was guarding the soldiers that was asleep at night throughout the day, or guarding at the ammunition dump around the clock. The weapons and ammunition had to be protected also. So we did about 6 or 8 weeks of that basic training. And the following 8 weeks was advanced individual training, which was our MOS, military occupational specialty. And like I said, my brother chose automotive mechanics for us, so we trained after graduating from basic training. We had another mountain. We wasn't out of the woods yet, which was an advanced individual training.
Right.
And we completed that in about 8 weeks. So our tour of duty started in August of '74. We reported for active duty in December of '74, December the 29th,
Right.
4 days after Christmas. And we started our basic training right around the middle of the last week in January, since
Right.
everybody was still out on the Christmas break. Everything didn't get fired up and reorganized until about the last of January. And February, March, and April, that's when we conducted our basic and AIT. And come April, the last of April, we was to graduate from advanced individual training
Right.
after completion of basic training. And we were holdovers for 2 extra weeks, so all the rest of the enlisted and inductees graduated in March, April of 75. And some of them was National Guards, some was regular Army. We cross-trained with National Guard, regular Army, and Army Reserve. And we mainly National Guard for training for riot control and disasters and hurricanes for our advanced individual training. When it came time for all the entire company to break up after graduation and go on their assigned duties, we was held over for 2 extra weeks because our unit back here at West Palm Beach, first of the 55th Air Artillery, had gone to 2 weeks of summer training. So the Fort Jackson Fort had to hold us over until they returned from summer training. So we didn't get to leave Fort Jackson until May, and all our other counterparts left in April. And it was some rigorous and advanced training, and very well needed, and made a man out of me.
Okay. Okay, so after your training, after that initial 6 and 8 weeks, of 14 weeks, where did you go after that?
We came back to West Palm Beach after our unit returned back from summer camp. Sometime in late June or July of 75.
Did you do summer camp in the same place, or?
No, our first summer camp came around the following summer, which would have been 76. However, upon graduation in May of 75 and leaving Fort Jackson, we came back and started going to one weekend of training every month.
Right.
From May, June, July, and August, and September. My brother and I made those 4 meetings.
Right.
Of 75. And September, October, and November, we missed 3 meetings in a row. And the weekend training, and you was allowed to miss 2 with an excellent explanation, and we missed 3 with no explanation. So December of 75, we got another letter from the Department of Defense certified, placing us on active duty for missing the meetings. So our instructions was to report to the Adjutant General, the commander of that National Guard unit,
Right.
and explain why we missed 3 or more meetings in a row. And they placed us back on active duty a month later. That was at the end of December 75 to March the 1st of 76. I came down on orders to report back to Fort Jackson, where I had previously taken my basic and AIT. And my brother, he was late signing for his certified letter, so he was about a week and a half behind me signing for his certified letter. Right. Mine instructed me to report back to Fort Jackson for further instructions. And my brothers sent him to Fort Bliss, Texas, and that's where we separated at. However, once I got to Fort Jackson for the second time in March of 76, I immediately came down on orders after being there, caught pneumonia, and was held over in the medical hospital for about 8 weeks. And after they released me, I had a set of orders to report to Fort Stewart, Georgia. And I was to Fort Stewart, Georgia for about 2 or 3 months. And I came down on active duty while I was stationed at Fort Stewart to go to Germany. Our punishment was 21 months and a day when we got ordered back on active duty. And I did 4 of those months at Fort Stewart, Georgia. And came down to West Palm Beach once again to take some R&R or relaxation and Recreation,
Right.
military leave, right around, I think my birthday was, in October. I came down, I left Fort Jackson after being ordered back there around August. Came to Fort Stewart, Georgia. Left Fort Stewart, came home for about 15 days and had to report to Germany for the remainder of my 14 months over in Germany from Fort Stewart, Georgia. I reported to Germany. And at that time I was attached to a 2nd of the 67th Air Defense Artillery
Right.
unit in Mannheim, Germany. And I was to do the remainder of my being ordered back on active duty, which by this time I only had 14 months from 75 to 76 to complete. And at the end of that 14 months, it came so fast. Instead of re-enlisting, I extended over there in Germany from 76 through 77. After the little 12 to 14 months ran out, I put in for a 12-month extension. And that carried me from 76 through 77. And it seemed like that flew by so fast. Christmas, Easter, New Year's, 4th of July, and another birthday. I put in for another extension. This time I put in for an 18-month extension. So I went to Germany with a 12-month tour, retainability, and wound up staying 44 months over there.
Okay.
And I went through.
What was your job? Same job?
I was assigned at the motor pool as a wheel vehicle mechanic, and at that time I had made from private E2. I made my specialist 4 there, which was 2 more stripes.
Right.
And then prior to that 44-month tour, about a year prior to that, I made buck sergeant, sergeant E5. And I was assigned to the deputy installation coordinator as a property disposer, non-commissioned officer. So it was still mechanical related because I was just policing up the cars, the abandoned cars that was left around the military installation and the hospital and the compounds that American soldiers had returned back to the United States and didn't get to fix them or they had broken down on them.
Right.
So my job was with a 5-ton tractor trailer and a 2-man crew, pick those cars up with a 10,000-pound forklift that was assigned to me, a 5-ton flatbed tractor trailer, and just keep the posts and the living area clear of all abandoned cars. And then we had a storage yard about 8 miles away from the post that we would store these vehicles and allow the American soldiers and their family members to come in at a charge of something like 50 cents for a day to come in and take parts off of these cars that was abandoned and match them up with cars that they may have had in their yards and driveways to switch parts out on them.
Right.
So the deputy installation coordinator was my commander. I was attached to him, but I was still with the 2nd of the 67th Air Defense Artillery, so this was an additional job for me, being the NCO for the property disposal unit.
Did you go ahead?
I did that until I came down on orders to return back to the United States at the end of that 44 months.
Did you travel a lot in Europe?
Yes, I got to go over to Amsterdam. I went into parts of London, England, Paris, and you could buy a train pass that you can get on the train anywhere and just travel around the entire European theater and get off of it anywhere. You can buy a 6-month pass or a year pass.
Right.
Yeah, I got to go to Birch's Garden and the chocolate factory and the cuckoo factory. And I got to go to where they had the 1976 Olympics.
Oh, okay.
I learned how to ski over there. Well, I learned how to bust myself up over there with the agony of defeat. But I was determined to master these skis, come off the ski slope. So I got to do quite a bit of touring, and it was a very learning experience, and it was something else.
How'd you stay in touch with your family while you were going?
We was able to make free phone calls from over there with the satellite service that they had, satellite dishes, and you can call them at any time. Of course, it was an 8-hour difference over there. When it was night here, it was daytime over there.
Right.
And through letters and some nice cookies and brownies my mother used to send me, and letters from my siblings and my mother and father. But I had told them once I left and came down on orders to go to Germany, don't call me. I want to see how long I can manage to stay away from the house and our family members. This is a testing period. So I say, don't call me unless it's a life or death threatening situation.
Right.
And I did the 44 months with no problem, no calls or nothing. And I didn't come home in those entire 44 months. So my vacation time had accumulated.
Right.
As to where I had something like 60 days vacation time accumulated. Really 90 by the time I left from over there, because I was just taking weekend passes and taking advantage of the combination of holidays like Thanksgiving or the 4th of July, and I may take 2 vacation days off of that and stretch it out.
Right.
But I had a buttload of vacation time on my hands when I got ready to leave from over there. I didn't really want to leave unless I got to learn all about the Oktoberfest and the German culture. And I rode a 10-speed Peugeot bicycle, which had me thin as a dime. And I used to ride everywhere. I was afraid to drive, but after being over there for past 30 months and going on into the 44-month tour, I went on and got my international license and got out on the super highways of Germany and started learning the city and the towns and the nearest cities and the states next to them. And it was just a learning and living experience. I didn't really want to leave there.
Why did you?
I came down on orders once again at the end of the 44 months. I didn't know where I was going to go, but I knew I was coming up on orders. And I called the Department of the Army in D.C., Washington, D.C., and talked with one of my branch members. And I say, well, I'm at the end of a 44-month tour, and all of my friends are coming down on orders, and they know where they're going to different parts of the United States. And we've been spending the time together over there for the past 3 years.
Right.
And I'm the only one that don't have any orders. Where are you all sending me? And they asked me, where do you want to go? I say, being from Daytona Beach, Florida, and West Palm Beach, preferably somewhere where I can drive back and forth to Florida in 8 to 9 hours, maybe 7 to 9 hours. I said my first choice would be Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's where a lot of my partners had left and went to. And I was in love with Georgia since I was stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia, prior to being sent to Germany.
Right.
So I say if I could drive somewhere like from Georgia to Florida, like I was able to do 6 to 7 hours, maybe Carolina on a 9-hour drive, South Carolina, North Carolina. Well, he said, Sarge, we need paratroopers in North Carolina, so that's the only way you can, they got a critical shortage on paratroopers. I said, well, really I don't want to see no more snow at the time, so I don't want to jump out of any planes either. So they said, call me back in about a week. in about 2 weeks, and I'll have an assignment for you. If we can't get you where you want to go, we'll get you within a 50-mile radius, either South Carolina, North Carolina, possibly somewhere in Florida with an attachment unit like the Navy or the Coast Guard. So I was so anxious, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait 2 weeks. I called them back the first following, I let Monday pass and called them Tuesday. It wasn't even a week past, and they said, "You're going to Fort Dix, New Jersey." I specifically explained to y'all I wasn't interested in seeing no more snow no time soon after spending 4 winters in Germany.
Right.
So he said, well, so I'll just go ahead and accept that assignment, and then once you get there, go and process in through administration, let them know that you have no interest of staying up north because you're too far from Florida. And at the same time, I was up for re-enlistment. So I had a choice either to get out of the service,
Right.
or continue my career. And again, at the same time, I was facing a $5,400 bonus if I re-enlisted. And I was gonna do no less than 6 years, because that's where the $5,400 came in at. 2 or 3 years would have bought me maybe 2,000, maybe 1,700 or 2,000.
Right.
But and at the same time, I could have nailed down three nails with one hammer by re-enlisting, getting a 6-year assignment and a $5,400 bonus and a choice of where I wanted to go.
Right.
So I told the Department of the Army, let me think about this, because when I called them back, they said, "You're going to Fort Dix, New Jersey," and I didn't care nothing about New Jersey. However, I went on and accepted the assignment, got to New Jersey, came into another headquarters and training unit, like I was at the Fort Jackson at boot camp and training. I was with the headquarters and training unit, and it was a laid-back assignment. I got there in the summer of '77. No, in the summer of '80. Because by the time I left Germany, 76, 77, 78, 79, 44 months, yeah, 80. I got in the summer of July of '80. And I kind of went and shopped around and asked about this post and installation. And my first question was, how far is West Palm Beach, Florida from there? And they told me about a 17 or 19-hour drive, because you got to go through Maryland and Virginia and then North Carolina. I said, okay. So I said, well, the re-enlistment NCO told me at the time, said, well, I'm getting ready to go on vacation myself, so you got about 60 days to make your mind up whether you want to re-enlist or get out of the service. But so I came down to West Palm Beach, Florida, after being away in Germany for 44 months. For the first time, I took a 45-day vacation after signing into this new unit that they assigned me to. The unit that my orders read, I didn't want it at all, because they were so harsh. They was getting ready to pack up and go out and do some heavy training and exercising. And I was a young family man. I needed a unit that was kind of more lax than lenient. But I went on and signed in for this other unit through administration. And this female sergeant said, "Sarge, you know, the best thing you could have did was not sign into that unit, because we're getting ready to, they got a congressional investigation on them, and we're getting ready to upset some people in there." So she said, you got a little young, some little young children and a wife. We're gonna put you in a unit where you'll be off from like 9 to 5 hours. And if you can choose to do anything on the outside of that, you'll have the time to do so, like taking on a part-time job. So I accepted that unit, and it was a nice unit. However, when I accepted the unit and signed in July, I came on down to West Palm Beach and took a 35, 40-day vacation. And I had 90 days at the time. But after 20 days, it got boring because all the friends I used to hang around with, they had to go to work. So I was left out there with nothing to do. So after about 25 days, I went back up to New Jersey and got settled into the compound and the government quarters and everything. And I got prepared to re-enlist. And I was thinking about staying there in New Jersey instead of going airborne and re-enlisting. But some of the canals and lakes I was fishing prior to leaving there in the summer to come down to West Palm Beach, Florida, I got back up there in September, and next thing I know it was October, November, and December. They was ice skating on the lakes in December. And I knew then that wasn't the place I wanted to be because I knew heavy snow was coming behind and I didn't care to see. So I went and took that airborne oath and said, where do I sign that for this airborne oath? And at the same time, I got $5,400 bonus, and they asked me, was that surely what I wanted to do? They asked me, was that the choice I want to make? And I took it. And January passed, and it was cold. February, I came down on orders to leave there and report to Fort Benning, Georgia, the paratrooper school.
Okay.
And that was another experience within itself. I went through Fort Benning. I did 8 weeks of jump school. Same thing, the basic and the advanced. And then another 2 or 3 weeks of long runs, long distance runs, short runs to the airport and back.
Right.
Building up your windage and your second and third and fourth wind, which I had no idea that ever existed. And we ran so far, we was just like running. We could run around the world and back.
Right.
And once I completed that course, I came down on orders. I didn't have to go back to New Jersey. I came down on orders to leave Fort Benning, Georgia after graduating from paratrooper school and go to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, which is where I really wanted in the beginning because that's where my partner was at. And I got stationed at a military police company. Being a motor mechanic and motor pool sergeant, you could be sent to any installation, finance, supply, it could be a hospital, anywhere. And I got sent to a military police company, and I was there for about a year and a half after earning my new paratrooper wings. I was there for a year and a half, and I had just took on that 6-year assignment contract. So the remainder of my 6 years, I transferred to aviation unit, 82nd Aviation.
Right.
And I was there for the remainder of the 6 years. And that's when I really got to see the world. When I got attached and assigned to this aviation unit, we got to go over, we came down on orders. My unit came down on orders to go into Grenada. We participated in jumping into Grenada. We went to the peacekeeping force over there with the multinational forces and observers in 84, 85, and 86. I participated in 3 6-month tours over in the Middle East and the Gaza Strip and Egypt and Israel, and Tel Aviv, Israel, where they fighting at now. And
Did you see, were you ever a prisoner of war?
We came in on the end of the Gulf War.
Okay.
The Gulf War.
Did you see a lot of casualties?
Yes, I saw quite a few, yeah. I still have some headaches and nightmares about some of the things I saw. Now, and over there in the Middle East also. Still have some anxiety behind that.
Right.
Seen a couple of plane crashes over there, and it bothers me now, today, when I see a helicopter up in it, because keep in mind, I was assigned with the 82nd Aviation Unit after leaving the military police unit, so
right.
that's all we did was flew We flew small wing aircraft and helicopters.
Were you a prisoner of war?
No.
Okay.
I never was a prisoner of war. When we traveled in like wolf packs. It always had some live ammunition and some 45 pistols and rifles. And me being a squad leader and platoon leader, I would position my men to where we would never get caught with our guards down, no matter which direction we moved. And we would always leave and come back with the amount of people that we left with.
Okay, that's good.
To make sure they came back to their parents and their sisters and their brothers. That was my job.
Right.
After experiencing the Middle East for three 6-month tours, I came back to Fort Jackson, Fort Bragg. Once you're a paratrooper, the only way you will leave Fort Bragg, quit jumping is terminate and walk in and just say I quit. Other than that, you're a paratrooper 24/7, unless you come down on orders to go to another unit.
Right.
You can still come back and gain your parachuter status after 2 or 3 years of serving another unit. But after leaving that MFO assignment and getting back to Fort Bragg, I came down on orders in 86. So in the Middle East, 84, 85, and 86. I came down on orders that last tour within 86 to go back to Germany.
Right.
And this time I was to go to Germany from 86 through 89. 3-year tour, because I was going to have my family with me. A single man have a 2-year tour, a family man have a 3-year tour. So I came down on orders that last tour over in the Middle East. And when I got back, and I processed out of that unit and cleared it at Fort Bragg. I took a 30-day vacation and came back to West Palm Beach, Florida.
Right.
Said farewell to a lot of the close friends and family members, and spent the time with them, much time as I could, and then I reported to Germany for the second time.
Right.
This time I was in Stuttgart, Germany. And I was assigned to a 5th General Hospital, a military hospital. And my job there was a motor pool sergeant.
Right.
I had over $300 million worth of equipment assigned to me. Anything from the smallest generator by the size of a suitcase to a humongous generator about as big as a 747 if it had wheels. If it was a boat, anything with an engine, we worked on it.
Right.
To include tanks and all. However, this hospital only had troop transport of vehicles, like buses. I used to give classes on city-sized buses, how to convert them into ambulatory patients and disaster vehicles in case of an emergency move-out. If we was attacked by terrorists, I used to have to give classes on that. And bus conversion and keeping all the ambulances running and fine-tuned. And I had a radius of about 60-mile radius in each direction to go by all the little small clinics that was attached to the hospital and check on their vehicles and do a monthly, annual, semi-annual, and quarterly inspection on those vehicles also. That was assigned to me.
Right.
After being there for almost 14 months, I was due to be there from 87 through 89, and I came down with an ailment that was supposed to be a procedure that was performed on me, and it's a good thing I was assigned to the hospital because this was supposed to be an outpatient procedure. However, it turned into a disaster because I was just supposed to be put out for a short period of time until they finished this medical procedure on me. And it really put my heart to sleep, and they had to jump start my heart for after the third or fourth time. And at that time, I was about 37, 39 years old, and they couldn't figure out what happened or why it was a good, healthy, physical young man, black Caucasian, just passed out with no heartbeat. So I didn't get to complete that 3-year tour over there. They gave me credit. They gave me an option of being going back to the hospital over there because they didn't get to complete that surgery. Well, they gave me an option of instead of a military installation. I could have went out on the economy where they got the Dr. Funkensteins and all that over there, and the top scientists come back to the United States and have it performed at some of our prestigious hospitals like Walter Reed in Fort Gordon, Georgia, hospital there. And I chose to come back to the United States because if I had to die again, I didn't want my soul traveling all the way back across that water.
Right.
But all went well. I was medevac from over there in Germany, and they flew me into after doing the 14 months of a 36-month tour. They gave me credit for 36 months, and then I was flown into Georgia. Walter Reed. I think we was on where I was medevac from Germany.
Right, with the
Yes, with the outpatient medical
illness,
procedure.
yeah.
I was medevac to Bethesda, Maryland. And during that time, that's when President Reagan was having the cancerous piece of skin removed off his nose. President Reagan was in over there. And I was to Bethesda for about 2 or 3 days, and then they sent me from Bethesda to Walter Reed Army Hospital, which their states are side by side. And I was put on operation list there for about 2 weeks down the road. The doctors talked to me, they explained to me what they thought had happened. And asked me did I have any way to go, anywhere I wanted to go, because they was going to put me on medical leave because they couldn't work me in for another 2 or 3 weeks for this operation procedure. So again, I got to come back to Florida after leaving there prior to going to Germany. Seemed like I was right back into Florida about 3 or 4 months ago.
Right.
And I came down and hung out for about a week or two. And I had a nice time again. And when I got back to Walter Reed, they say, well, we still need another week. We trying to squeeze and fit you in. And another week passed, and they finally got around to doing the surgery on me that they wasn't able to complete in Germany. And after that completion, they say, now we want to observe you for about 2 weeks. Do you want to go back down to Florida? I told them, no, I'm broke now, so I can't keep going back down there spending too much of money. But I say I'll just hang around the Maryland, D.C. area.
Right.
And I stayed there for 2 weeks, and they observed me, and they finally put me on a stabilization list where I can return back to my primary doctor over in Germany. And that's the one. He held my charts up to the light and said, no, I was praying that they didn't do this and do that. And he said they did this way, the way I didn't want it done. So the way they did it, you can burst it loose again. Your artery, your organs can come loose. And he said, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to give you credit for this here 6-month tour. And that's when they made me the offer of letting the outside doctors do it in Germany. We can just send you back to the United States to Fort Gordon, Georgia. Say, we got a specialist for the problem you got. We got a specialist, a doctor there. So we had some in Washington, D.C. also at Walter Reed, but they didn't do it according to my notes like I wanted them to do it. So we're gonna say, pack your car and your household baggage up, get you somebody that that can oversee your children, because you can take one medical aid with you to Georgia and get somebody with a power of attorney that can put your car on the ship and pack all your household baggage up, and it'll soon follow you. And the kids and the oldest child can look over the kids and your overseers. And I chose a couple from church, and some of the church members was checking on my family. But my ex-wife now, she went with me as my medical aid, and we went to Fort Gordon, Georgia from there, after leaving Germany for that last time. And Fort Gordon, they went on and corrected the problem. I didn't have to return to Germany, and I was at Fort Gordon for about 6 or 7 months. However, they didn't have a position for me at Fort Gordon because the civilian side of the house had taken over the automotive mechanics and the transportation.
Okay.
So we didn't have too many military slots. So I had to go out and find a job. And I left there and went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, where I first started out training with basic and AIT.
Right.
So it was one complete circle. And after going to Fort Jackson and signing out of Fort Gordon, Georgia, so 6 months later going to Fort Jackson, getting settled into the government quarters there and everything, I was up for re-enlistment I took another 6 years. At this time I was in the middle of 11 years.
Right.
And I took 6 years and got settled in at Fort Jackson. Got assigned to a training school again, and was trained in soldiers, male and female, on how to do the things I was taught to do, as fixing vehicles and troubleshooting them and all. I was working at a mechanical school. Right. Troubleshooting vehicles. And I did that in the classroom, and I was an instructor, which is a school teacher in civilian life. I was considered as an instructor and assigned that assignment. I did that up until I got out of the military. And some 17 plus years later, I got out of the military right there at Fort Jackson when they offered that early retirement program. Right. And I got out on that and stayed in South Carolina for another 4 or 5 years, and then relocated back here to West Palm Beach. Lived in Jupiter for 2 years, and then West Palm Beach from 93. When I got out of the military in Fort Jackson, it was 92, April of 92. I stayed there another 4 years. Did a couple of years of individual ready reserve, which is the IRR, on-call ready military men, something like the emergency National Guards or the reserve. So I stayed there for another 2 or 3 years for that in South Carolina. From 92 on up into 96, 94, 96, I moved back here to West Palm Beach. And I started working for the Port of Palm Beach as a longshoreman, truck driver over at the Port of Palm Beach in 96. And that was the federal government. Right. I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that. And then I left there 2 years later to come over and start working for the West Palm Beach EPA as a bus driver, truck driver in the transportation department. Okay. And I've been here for the past 11 years. And now I'm coming around to retirement in another year. My intentions was to go into the year 2015. However, I got a bucket list to include, and I think I'll fix that. Work on my bucket list. Okay. But I have had a nice time working for the military throughout my military career. Right. If I had to do all over again, I'd do it probably exactly, if not the same way. And I wouldn't take nothing different.
All right, well, just, I think you got it all. Have you used your GI Bill for anything?
No, I haven't used that as of yet. My intentions is to use that for the the big house, my wife and I, my present wife, who's been my right hand and ambassadors for the past 6 or 8 years.
Okay.
We plan on getting a house for veterans, homeless veterans, battered wives, female veterans. We want to get that started.
Okay.
So I intend on using my GI Bill for that, if that's what it takes.
Got it.
Something to help the homeless veterans and the female veterans that's scuffling, and the battered wives and children.
Okay. Well, do you think there's anything that you left out that we need to cover?
Just the highlights of my military career, and I had so many additional duties. They found out I had a musical background, and the 3 tours I was over in Egypt and Israel, so I was taken from the motor pool and transportation department and appointed to entertain the officers and NCO clubs and the troops by having a 22-member chorus.
Wow.
And a band group over there. And I asked my commander and first sergeant and sergeant major them who was going to run the motor pool. And they said, don't you worry about that. We'll get somebody for that. You just keep them people happy and smiling. That was one of the things. Additional duty I had. I was a fireman that no way in the world I would have thought had I still been here and I went into the service, becoming a fireman, as when the aircraft come in to bring our mail and supplies and money in, we had to be standing by on the fire truck and racing down the runway to spray foam just in case it crash landed.
Right.
So I was the head of a fire detail with about 6 to 8 firemen, and I also was a mail clerk. That was an additional duty also.
Right.
But those 3 things, and being an instructor to train the younger troops and the future personnel was the highlights of my career. And then I love transportation and driving, so I love my job here as well.
So you, no,
Yeah.
I meant, all I meant was,
That's Dallas trying to on Roosevelt's on the thing.
all right, well, did we get it all?
I think we covered just about everything.
Okay. I want to thank you very much.
All right.
It was a great interview, Jerry.
If it's anything other than I think I can add, I'll call you.
Okay, thanks.